Bloomberg Audio Studios.
Podcasts, radio, news.
This is Bloomberg Businessweek. Insight from the reporters and editors who bring you America's most trusted business magazine, plus global business, finance, and tech news as it happens. Bloomberg Businessweek with Massar and Tim Stenovec on Bloomberg Radio.
Yes, indeed, everybody. This is Bloomberg Businessweek. We're live at Screentime. Is this
This is our fourth hour.
5? I've lost count. Massar along with Tim Stenovec. We're live at Naya Studios. This is our second annual Screentime event, bringing together those folks who are making content, but it's coming through so many different creative vehicles, if you will. And yeah, we're going to talk about it for the next 60 minutes. We have been, but we're going to continue the conversation.
Yeah, some huge names here at Screentime this year. We had Snoop Dogg last night. We heard from Brian Roberts a little earlier. Blizzard co-founder and former CEO Mike Morhaime was just on with us in the last few minutes. A great lineup of people. OnlyFans CEO was on as well. The action is just nonstop here.
It's nonstop, and in just a moment, we're going to get to the executives behind The Voice, Love Island USA, The Traders, two top content creators. They have created so much when it comes to reality and unscripted television. We're going to talk with them. They're over at NBCUniversal. They'll join us in just a moment. On it, when it comes to reality TV, another great voice, Viall. He's been on The Bachelor, The Bachelorette. He's got his own podcast. They dig deep into what goes on in reality TV.
And what really goes on.
What really happens when it comes to reality TV. And then we have been talking a lot about the ones to watch. Nick is on that list.
Yeah, so too is the CEO of Tubi, Anjali Sood. And if you're in the media world, especially in New York, it's a familiar name because she was at Vimeo for years. Our Brad Stone is going to be catching up with her. We're going to catch up with Brad a little bit later too.
All right, let's get going in this hour. From The Bachelor and The Bachelorette to The Kardashians, Housewives, American Idol, and so much more. Reality and unscripted television is a must-see for so many. Came up with a statistic that was on PBS. They noted that almost 80% of adult TV viewers watch reality television. We have two insiders.
I like that PBS has that stat.
It was based on a book, I think. We have two insiders who have led the way, truly, when you look at their backgrounds, when it comes to the success and explosion of unscripted television. Corie Hensen is Executive Vice President of Unscripted Content Competition and Game Shows at NBCUniversal Entertainment. Also at NBCUniversal is Sharon, who is Executive VP, Alternative Programming and Development. As we said, they're the creative team behind so much of the NBC portfolio. There's so much. I could go on for about an hour about what you guys have done. First of all, welcome. What's fun about unscripted TV?
What's not fun about unscripted TV? Yeah.
But it wasn't always something that people thought about, right? That could be an explosion. But tell us about kind of how it has evolved.
Oh, gosh. I mean, it's evolved from PBS series through Cops, through, into the real world, into the big formats like Big Brother and Idol and Survivor, the ones that launched the genre. And I think it's just continued to evolve. There was obviously a big spike in all of the cable fare. With all of the docu-soaps were prolific across cable, and I think the big formats are back now. Traders, Love Island obviously are crushing it. We found this really great balance where people don't talk about it as a guilty pleasure anymore, which I always was.
That's a win.
That's a win.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's not guilty. It's just good entertainment. And I think there's great reality shows and there's great scripted shows, just like there's some not great reality shows and some not great scripted shows. It's like there's something for everyone, but we pinch ourselves every day when we get to come to work and walk onto the set for something.
I was even surprised to hear a shout out from Tim Walz during the vice presidential debate a couple of weeks ago. I think he said, "You're missing Dancing with Our Stars." I think he said that.
He did.
Yeah.
So close.
So close.
Yeah.
I think he said that. I have to go back and look at the transcript. Maybe Dancing with Us. I don't know what he said, but we understood what he was saying. But it entered the cultural zeitgeist.
Yeah.
One thing that I was thinking about when we were preparing for this is, Carol and I were talking yesterday. Like, reality show for me is like real world, because that's the era I grew up in, 1990s MTV, seeing what happens when, strangers get together.
Seven strangers.
Yes, thank you.
Get together in a house.
Now I know what happens at creative
We're all the
meetings.
same vintage, we get it.
That's right.
But that was before Instagram. It was before Facebook. It was before Twitter. It was before, you have bands right now always traveling with content creators because they're giving a behind-the-scenes view, like their own version of reality TV to their audience as a way to connect with them. How do you balance that going directly to the fan versus a show, a platform like you find at NBCUniversal?
Yeah, we think it makes the content richer because it's another kind of avenue for the story to play out. So, for instance, on Love Island, you have the story that plays out episodically, but then we have a whole content team that manages the social story as well. So we show moments, we tell stories, we show interview bites, we show photographs that you won't see on the main show, and it becomes this symbiotic relationship that keeps pushing the main show forward, pushes back to social, so it ends up being a 360 kind of experience for the fans, and I think that's really important. You get more. It's almost like for the rabid fan base, you can't get enough. On Big Brother, they had live feeds.
Deeper layer. Yep.
And that's 24/7.
It's kind of amazing how you can dice and slice it, right?
Yeah.
In terms of reality or unscripted.
Yeah. A lot of our shows too we've created sort of worlds and bubbles that the contestants are living in, and so this is really just sort of like that outside echo chamber of what's going on in real life, and we love being part of that conversation every day and really sort of creating the conversation through social, which again, to Sharon's point, feeds back into the show and it becomes this 360 experience.
I am so curious about how you guys figure out what's going to be a good unscripted series. Like, how do you go about the process? How do you scout it out? How do you scout out the people that you maybe want to have in that environment?
It's very similar to when you watch a show or you hear a song.
Yeah.
You get a certain feeling. And I think that I wish it was perfect science because it's not. But there are things, like avenues that we take where we're always looking at international formats. That's a place where we can mine for content.
Yep.
Domestically, from the producers that we hear pitches from, that's a place we mine for content. Sometimes we go into the closet and we brush off old IP.
Reinventing IP,
Yes.
or working with certain auspices where that say Jordan Peele came in with a reimagining of Scare Tactics, which is like a fan favorite prank show.
Yeah.
And through his lens, it became a totally different show.
Yeah.
And so you're making calculated bets, basically, and they're not all going to win. And I've seen really great shows not perform, and I've seen mediocre shows perform really well. So it's not a perfect science. We wish it was, although then we wouldn't have a job. You would just,
Okay.
Easy. Yeah.
What's something you passed on that ended up doing so well? What's a mistake you made?
Ouch.
Okay.
Hey,
For me, it was one of your shows.
We all
it's
learn
right.
from our
Okay.
mistakes.
Yeah, so when I was the commissioner at CBS, Corie was over at Fox, and a little Korean show came in called Masked Singer, and we watched the tape, and I thought, it's a little weird. But it's people in masks, and even though we felt like it was something interesting, it wasn't right for us. But of course, it ended up being a massive hit on Fox.
But that show is my mistake as well, because we passed on it the first time it came in.
Oh.
And then it came back around about 2 years later, when it had fallen out of development, I think at like MTV, and it came back to us and we bought it the second time around. So it's a mistake with a happy ending.
Yeah.
So.
But I heard that happened with American Idol too, that people passed on American Idol before it found its home.
Those stories are legendary.
Why is it though? Like, what is it that you see that you're like, okay, not so much?
Well,
and something that you say, okay, I'm going to greenlight this.
I mean, timing is obviously everything. Yeah, what your opportunities are on the network or the platform, and where you can put it, and what you can partner it with, and what talent is interested in it and available. I mean, that was, when we did do The Masked Singer, that sort of, we got really lucky. Ken Jeong, his parents actually had watched the original Korean version, so he knew the show, so we didn't have to explain the wacky premise. He's like, I got it.
Yeah.
And same thing with Jenny McCarthy, that she understood it right away. So it's just a lot of it's timing. The Traders, for example, that show, the producers talk about what they've been pitching it for 10 years or so, or like developing it and redeveloping it and pitching it.
6 years they were pitching. 6 years.
It's amazing. And I will say with the panel shows, like who's on that panel makes or breaks it, right? So getting that right talent mix is just killer in making it
the
run.
alchemy. Yeah, it is. And there's not really a great way to test it.
Yeah.
You're sort of trying to fill these different roles. You know, you want this person that comes from this genre, and this person that's going to bring the humor, and this person that's going to
Do you not
appeal.
test different combinations? Like I'm just curious how you do that with high-profile talent or higher profile.
I was going to say it's tricky when you have sort of big, celebrities. It's not like we could say, "Hey, Reba, sit down in the chair and give us an audition." It's like she's a legend. She's getting the chair. So we don't know. We try and sort of matchmake a little bit as much as we can. You know, with this year's voice panel that we're so excited about. Obviously, Snoop had done the Olympics. We had been chasing him to be a coach on The Voice for many, many seasons. The timing was perfect. He could transition seamlessly into it. We knew he and Reba would have a good rapport. There was a lot of respect there, and two legends. He and Gwen came up at the same time in the same area.
Yeah.
They had a history. And I think Michael Bublé was the sort of the question mark, because he didn't really know any of the other panelists very well coming into it, but he and Snoop hit it off, and now there's this romance that's blossoming there. So sometimes though, man, sometimes you sit there and those panels are meeting for the first time and you're like, oof, this is not a dinner party I want to be at anymore.
And we as viewers pick up when there's stuff going on. And sometimes that's fun.
Yeah, sometimes that
part
works.
of it.
Sometimes that works too.
But sometimes it doesn't.
We're Bloomberg. We talk money. We love talking money, numbers.
Do you have any extra?
Great question.
You can have?
That's a different department than us.
Certainly looking for more. Question. I guess the question that I have is about the cost equation with this type of content versus like a half hour or an hour of something scripted. If you think about, the days of Seinfeld and Friends and the days of like 30 Rock and The Office, the so-called those half hours or 22 minutes of scripted TV that have now taken on a life of their own on the streaming platforms. How would you characterize the investment in those versus the investment in a season of reality?
I mean, it's a longer answer because I think we don't know the intricacies of the scripted deal models, but the big difference is that the studios sort of take on a lot of the burden up front for scripted, whereas on unscripted, we pay 100% of the costs up front. And so our shows don't have as much legs on the other end, because oftentimes the result of the show. You know who won, when the person was eliminated. So there's not always a lot of tail on the show, where there could be for Seinfeld. You can watch an episode 20 years later and it still resonates.
We still are. Yeah.
And we still are.
Yeah.
But that being said, our costs are far less in the long term. And we can find a lot of efficiencies in different ways. We can shoot back-to-back seasons. We can make the cast smaller or bigger. We can shoot 20 episodes and get a better amort. There are all these different levers that we can play with.
We can partner with a different territory, which we do often now. Like on Traders, we partnered with the BBC in the UK. Right. We created a hub with that castle, so that castle's become a location for both channels.
So, okay, $1 trillion question. Is it really unscripted?
Yeah.
What's the balance? Tell it. Is it really just go? Everybody does their thing, or help us understand? I am a super fan of a lot of reality. I just think it's human nature. You get to see dynamics, but
it's not turn on the cameras and just catch what you can. There's a lot of work and pre-production that goes into setting up the framework that we then, and the worlds that we then put the contestants into. But at the end of the day, they are themselves. They're not actors. We're not writing scripts for them. In our big competition format series, there are game rules at play. There are FCC rules at play. We cannot write the script for them. All we can do is produce
Set up a situation, right?
And put people into that situation, and it's all about how they react to the situation and to one another in the situation. It's real.
How does social media play in today, in the sense of when you're editing, you're finding those moments to cut, to promote on social media, to bring in an audience that wouldn't necessarily be tuning in without that sort of bite?
Yeah, we work closely with a team internally at the company NBCU, but also outside resources that create a story, like we were saying earlier, that go hand in hand with the story that's happening in the episode. And so there's a whole cycle of content that's happening and being built and edited and put together with a whole plan that gets released as we release the episodes. So we were saying earlier, it's particularly on Love Island, it's a 50-50 proposition. It's 50% what's happening on social is important to 50% that's happening on the screen.
All right, so I want to ask what each of your favorite unscripted program is to watch.
I mean, I think
pick one of ours.
I was going to say we're biased. Yeah,
Right.
so I would say one of ours we would probably both say the Traders.
The Traders.
Yeah. Okay,
One that isn't yours.
One that isn't.
I'm
like, we both went.
I'm a long fan of Survivor. Very long fan of Survivor. And Big Brother. Those two shows. Yeah.
I'm a Dancing with the Stars loyalist.
Yeah.
Dancing with Our Stars.
Dancing with Our Stars. I'm sorry. Yes. Thank you. Nice callback. Yeah.
All right.
That's a
what's
good
your
show.
favorite scripted program or normal, traditional, not an unscripted program
Yeah.
to watch?
Ooh.
Well, my most recent obsession, I always loved Game of Thrones, which makes sense that we love Traders.
Yeah, totally.
And I loved Lost in the olden days, and I loved Succession, which makes sense because all these tenets are in our unscripted shows. Strategy and murder.
It's all
that's my
part of it,
favorite.
right?
Yes, that's right.
How about for you, Corie?
Oh gosh, we watch a lot of live television, live sports in our home. Not always by choice, everyone on the couch, but that's what's on. And we watch a lot of like 1 hour dramas. So for us, it's about like escaping from the day to day. So gosh, I know this sounds like a really dated answer, but I love Ozarks. We always have Law and Order on in our house, constantly on a loop. So old school.
I watched Ozarks while I had COVID.
Yeah.
Like, it was a really dark moment for me.
Sorry.
Do you think sports, there was a room more reality or unscripted, just quickly? Or do you do more, or is it hard?
I think the two are very complementary. They're live, they're spontaneous, you don't know the outcome, they're real people doing what they do, achieving at their highest levels. I think it's a really great compliment.
Corie and Sharon, thank you so much.
Thank
So
you.
much fun.
Good to
This
meet
is
you.
Bloomberg.
You're listening to Bloomberg Businessweek with Massar and Tim Stenovec on Bloomberg Radio.
Well, our next guest from Screentime, well, he has been cast in The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, I want to make sure I get them all right, Bachelor in Paradise. He started a podcast back in 2019. It has since become a must-stop place for reality TV personalities. Their fans want analysis of what's going on. It's the kind of thing I am very interested in, the backgrounds and what's going on. His weekly recap episodes tackle the most popular shows, The Bachelor, Love Island, The Real Housewives, a favorite of mine, I'm just going to disclose, and Summer House. How have I missed, though, all of this?
I don't know.
Maybe I'm just involved in too much news stuff. He's among the 12 individuals singled out and included in the Bloomberg Screentime Ones to Watch list. He's also founder of NV Media that's developing other podcasts. We're so delighted to have with us Nick Viall. He's actor, host of Viall Files. He's here with us at Screentime. Welcome, welcome.
Thanks for having me. Good to be with you.
So good to have you here. Your YouTube channel, let me throw out some numbers. 190,000 subscribers, but maybe even more. More than 200,000 people follow your podcast on Spotify. You have more than 1 million followers on Instagram. Why do you think you are so popular?
I don't know. You'd have to ask, I guess. I suppose my audience, but I think, we try to be as authentic as we can on our show and just, give the people a little bit of the insight into reality TV, pop culture, and things like that. And so hopefully people find us entertaining as well as a little bit informative when it comes to some of the things that they're really fans of, like reality TV and pop culture.
Okay, so Carol kept asking our previous guest whether or not it is actually reality TV, whether or not it is unscripted.
They're over at NBCUniversal,
Okay.
Sharon, Vuong, and Corie Hensen. They've done a lot in terms of unscripted television and reality TV, so they know this world.
Yeah, careful with your answer because they're still right over there. So they can probably hear us.
They could be
I
listening.
think when it comes
but
to...
but
yeah.
but you have a unique position because you we're part of so many shows. You have been part of so many shows. So take us behind the scenes.
Well, I think when it comes to reality TV, every show is different, right? You have like reality TV love competitions like The Bachelor, Love Island, Love is Blind, and that's a very kind of different structure than, say, your ensemble episodic shows like Bravo Housewives.
Yeah.
I think for the most part, every reality TV show wants to be as real, as authentic as possible, and so I would say in reality it's more staged than scripted. You know, as much as possible, the conversations people are having are truly authentic. They're not getting scripts or lines or things like that, but scenes are staged, so to speak. And so like The Bachelor, Love is Blind, Love Island, very controlled environments. You don't have your phone, you're kind of off the grid, so to speak. And so within that controlled environment, they're very good at creating situations that are very intense, that create a lot of drama and fun things to watch.
We've heard stories about alcohol being involved in this stuff. About alcohol being involved. To sort of get people to loosen up, create an environment. To what extent?
In my experience, it's they're casting adults first and foremost, people who are old enough to drink, and it's available. You know, I was never encouraged to drink more. I was never, certainly insisted to drink more, but it was always available. There is a lot of downtime. There is a lot of hurry up and waiting. Obviously, people who might happen to consume alcohol if they're nervous and things like that, so that can create a lot of situations where people might overconsume. But I think over the years, I got the impression I've been out of reality TV in terms of being behind the camera, but it sounds like a lot of production companies have made the appropriate changes to limit people's consumption. That being said, it is available, it's there, and if you're someone who overconsumes, that might happen.
Can I ask you though, before we kind of move forward, were you ever prodded into doing something, or did you ever feel like you were edited incorrectly?
Yeah, well, certainly when it comes to like the edit, there's a lot of control that shows have in terms of how they can frame a story together. I think for the most part, shows want to tell the story that happened, but they also have a limited time in which to do that, and so they are kind of simplifying arguments and things like that. So for the person involved, they might feel a little misrepresented. I think for the sake of the audience, the people telling the story are just trying to create the story. At the same time, no one's making you do or say anything you don't want to do. I always describe producers as the friend who wants you to buy the boat, producers aren't there to give you sound advice. Right. They're there if it feels good, do it type of thing. And so they want you to be as honest with how you feel in the moment. So if you ask them if you should buy the boat, they're going to tell you, hell yeah.
It's great to have a friend with a boat. It's great to have a friend with a pool.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the one
It's nice to have that friend. Yeah. So that's kind of how producers are. And I always say this, I've never heard a reality TV star blame the producers when they look good.
Yeah.
They're always like, yeah, that was my line. But when things don't go well for reality TV stars, I think producers are often an easy scapegoat. But listen, sometimes those gripes are legitimate. I know what it's like to be behind the camera and like watch the edit and go, I don't remember it that way. So it goes both ways, and I think there's arguments to be made on both sides.
Your podcast, are you always thinking about having a viral moment? Like, tell us about when you're in the process and your guys are digesting, an episode or certain happenings. Like, how do you shape that?
I mean, in terms of producing our show, we just want to have conversations that people are interested in having with us, right? Yeah. Like, we want to basically create a show that is like, we're friends in a room having a conversation about our favorite content. I'm also a big sports fan, and so our audience, who are fans of pop culture, reality TV, and relationship, are watching reality TV the same way some people might watch a sports game. And so we want to cover that and have those types of conversations that they are interested in having and breaking down and things like that. So we want to have those authentic conversations that people are interested in, and the virality of content that you make usually will follow. And that's kind of how we focus on it.
But you love when it goes viral, right?
Oh, of course. Who doesn't love a viral moment when it comes? Viral moments are a good sign that you're talking about the right things.
Yeah.
Involved, but consistency matters, and the more you're consistent with your message, the more chances you'll have of going viral.
It's pretty incredible to see the way that careers have been made with opportunities given by reality TV. I think you're a great example of that.
Sure.
Are you more likely, if you're on a reality TV show, to have a career made or a career broken?
It really just depends on what you're doing. A lot of advice I give to my peers coming off of reality TV is I'll let them know that going on reality TV gives you incredible access and no credibility. Where, like, for example, an entertainer in music or, you know, an actor, they usually will get access and credibility. Access is great, and it gets you in a lot of rooms, and then from there on, it's up to you to kind of show the credibility that you should earn. And so that's the focus I've had, and I think if you stick to that and show people who, you know, are excited to bring you in the room because they're fans of the show and they want to ask you all the questions you guys are asking me, is it real, is it scripted, things like that. Those are opportunities that I use to, you know, gain the credibility to grow and build my career.
Doing a podcast, was that something you thought, yeah, this makes sense next, or did you think about different things?
I mean, I do acting, I do hosting, and I try to be kind of, you know, have my hand in a lot of buckets. But podcasting is something I saw a lot of people have success in. I do enjoy talking. I like being analytical, and so I saw the space as something I thought I could excel in. And once I started my show, I really enjoyed it, had a passion for it, and then just tried to continue to build and see where it could go.
With it's interesting because you're able to leverage something that an opportunity you had in so-called traditional media to reach fans directly.
Yeah.
You know, sort of go around those traditional media channels. I'm wondering, you know, here we are talking about the future of media at Screentime, trying to understand the different ways to reach people. A big part of the conversation earlier was, you know, with the CEO of OnlyFans, and they have a platform where people are able to go directly to their fans. The future of reality TV, do the networks have as much power as they've had in the past?
I think in general, traditional media across the board probably has less power just because of the platforms that give, you know, creators like me access to, you know, start creating content. And if you have a work ethic and a good idea and the follow through to build on that idea, I think, you know, the sky's the limit for kind of anything. So I just think it kind of levels the playing field, and I think it challenges legacy media to keep up and be more innovative. I think in the past, legacy media had the advantages of kind of just doing what we always did because it worked for them, and now, you know, they're seeing, you know, healthy competition and people out there, you know, challenging them to move a little faster and a little bit be a little more innovative.
You know, what's kind of cool, if you think about podcasts, it's like kind of old time radio, right? We just all listen to an incredible conversation. Sometimes there's bells and whistles. Sometimes it's just people talking around a table. It's just unbelievable kind of how it's taken off. NV Media, it's your company that you've started. Now you're helping other people do podcasts. Is there a certain type of talent, podcasting, that you're looking to do? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so, you know, starting NV Media, I was just trying to build off of what the Viall Files was, which is, again, you know, a big part of my audience are people who love watching television, love watching reality TV. And so the first show I produced is Disrespectfully with Katie Maloney and Dana Catham. They have their, you know, place in reality TV. A new show I'll be announcing shortly. Our lady's also in the reality TV space. And so I think NV Media, we're trying to kind of build what, you know, ultimately like what ESPN is for sports, and kind of build an environment that every one of our shows is going to have a similar type of audience of people who enjoy this type of television and enjoy this type of content. So we want to be focused. We're not just trying to launch a bunch of random shows. They'll all be centered around, you know, reality TV and the people who love them.
How's the sales process going with getting these shows picked up?
In terms of selling the shows, it's going very well. I mean, I have a great partner in Lipson who sells my show and the shows that we also produce, and it's been great. And again, you have to have a lot of our audiences are millennial women, and it seems like the advertisers enjoy those audiences as well as much as we enjoy them, and we'll continue to work with those audience members because they've been great to us and we really appreciate them.
Are you done with reality TV yourself?
In terms of being behind the camera,
in front of the camera?
It really depends on what it is. In terms of love competition shows, I'm happily married, have a kid, so that's great.
Sounds like a reality show.
Sure. In terms of, you know, you never say never because you never really know what type of shows might come out, or, you know, obviously I'm doing a lot of hosting and things like that. I hosted a reality show with Patty Stanger not too long ago. show, and so I'll always have my place in reality TV. I'm always looking to produce content, maybe make shows myself. So I'll always have a hand in it, but I don't know how much competing on reality TV I'll be doing.
Totally get it. Nick, thanks for dropping by. Really cool. Congratulations on your success.
Absolutely, thank you.
Yeah, Nick Viall. He's an actor, host of the Viall Files. Straight ahead, we're going to get another name from the Bloomberg Screentime Ones to Watch list. This is something we're highlighting. Who's beating some of the giants in the streaming race while giving away content for free. That's a model.
Okay.
That's coming up next.